welcome, Aiden. Glad you could join us for this podcast as our co-host and helping me out with this.
Dude, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wanted to talk about a couple of important events that happened, but first, let's make sure the audience knows what we're about, what they're going to find with us. So we basically started this podcast, as you know, and the aftermath of Charlie Kirk getting assassinated. And the motivation for that was basically creating a space where we can have a voice for people to feel confident and comfortable sharing conflicting ideas. We don't want to have the world delve into this bifurcation of left and right. We really do need each other, and we need to be talking about the different issues that are tearing us apart. And we need to do so in a civil manner. And I think that that's been the whole message of Charlie Kirk's mission. And so we really need to be the ones to carry that on, basically, and to make that difference now that he's no longer on the stage. And I'm sure others will also be helping out with that voice.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. That's why I was not only willing to be on this, but also super excited to be here. I think, like you said, we all got a torch to carry. That's not saying everybody needs to start a podcast. That's not saying you and I are the only ones that are going to carry the torch, but everyone does their part. So Let's get after it.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And later on, we'll definitely have some guests on the show, make sure that people get that opportunity. We want to have alternate views as well. We'll have those conversations. So it's not just going to be one-sided. This isn't just like we're obviously going to have our opinions, but we're not going to push out alternate views and whatnot. We'll have that dialogue.
On the contrary, actually, I'm kind of excited for that.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. So we're going to talk about a couple of the events that, since this is our first episode, kind of got missed over this past month. September was terrible.
Wake me up when September ends, right?
Absolutely. Amen. It was insane. So prior to September, actually, one of the big things that I think woke up America was the killing of Irina Zarutska, if that's how you pronounce that.
Yeah.
Ukrainian, or at least close enough. And so it was an incident that happened on August 22nd. And are you familiar with how this story kind of rolled out?
More or less, yeah. I've seen the video, and it is kind of horrifying. Mm-hmm. To my understanding, she got on the subway, had just sat down, and this random dude, no visible intentions whatsoever, just killed her, stabbed her like 22 times or something. So,
well, he slit her throat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she basically had a very violent death. That she was. You could actually see in the video her face. She looks up at the guy who had harmed her, and you just see this terror in her eyes, and you're just you think of it like that could have been my sister. That could have been a friend. That could have been a cousin of mine, for some people, their daughter. And I think it caught Charlie Kirk's attention. He saw that incident, and he was just talking about how it was so tragic that it appeared, based on statements that the killer had made, that this was racially motivated. Any violence is obviously just grotesque and is not allowed. There's no room for it. But
you're saying racially motivated against Irina, is her name? Ukrainian?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So there's quotes of him saying, "I got me that white girl. I got that white girl."
What race was this man?
He was black. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just interesting.
So, and it's sad, Now, I'm not trying to paint this in a picture where it's one side or something like that. That's what a lot of people say about white people, and that's not true either. But we are dealing with a situation where I think we've lost some of the progress that we've made with being able to see beyond skin color. And this is some of the damage that I think has, it's been evidence of that. We've seen it both ways. We've seen it across all races of people just making really hate-filled decisions. So this is something we're going to talk about later in the podcast of what we can possibly do as individuals in our families and our communities to make that difference to where this stops, to really bring home Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream.
Yeah, I like it.
But so some other things, we're not going to ever mention killers' names. It brings publicity to individuals, and it encourages people that have not but have contemplated committing violent acts to go out and become newsworthy. So we're not going to talk about those individuals. We're mainly going to be talking about the issue and just taking a look at why it happened and what we can do to possibly make that change. So that was one of the first incidents that, at least in my mind, came about and really woke me up to this tragic story of a 23-year-old girl who moved to America for freedom and leaving a war-torn country, and then she was injured and harmed.
Right, and that really puts it into perspective too. I mean, this girl's coming over to seek freedoms, be it religious, whatever she's looking for, and then obviously she's a victim of getting her freedoms and rights taken away. Then her family feels the same way about America, and then Ukraine feels the same way, and it's really painting a bad picture.
Yep.
on the United States of America. So it really is a much bigger deal than I think people are making it out to be, which is saying something, because it is a huge deal.
Absolutely. There was another detail that I just remembered, and that is that the killer was arrested 14 prior times and was let out with minimal consequences. And it was under this initiative that Charlotte, which is the area where this incident happened, Charlotte, North Carolina, their government in Mecklenburg County was basically saying that we want to reduce how many people are incarcerated. We want to reduce the size of the prisons. And this isn't a new policy. This is something we've heard of before. California has done that. That's actually where I'm personally from. And we've seen those initiatives. And my dad, being in law enforcement as a prison guard, he was seeing the effects that this was having on our state, California. It's not good. It comes from a place of, well, we want to give people second chances. Well, this is a heavy tax burden. Well, there's a bunch of these arguments that people bring up. But what ultimately happens is when you don't hold to the law, when you don't sustain the law with your district attorneys and with your citizenry, with upholding morals and teaching godly values, you're going to get this exact result of people that they think they can get away with it, because this guy got away with it 13, 14 prior times. And we could have stopped that if we did our part. I mean, there's something to say for the people that are involved in lawmaking, the people that are involved in prosecuting individuals like this, and the citizens, if any, had any impact on voting for policies like this. There's something to be said for like what responsibility do we have for that person's loss and for the sorrow it brought her family.
Right. And if I can go on, kind of take a different route with this, absolutely it's the government's responsibility to make sure that felons are kept in prison, that murderers stay in prison, in my opinion, for the rest of their lives. I think that's what policy is. But we also have responsibilities as citizens in our Second Amendment rights to, protect ourselves, because that's exactly what the Second Amendment states. We're allowed to own guns in case the government wants to take us over. And it also has to do with situations like this. If the government isn't doing their job, one of the few jobs that they should have of keeping the United States safe, then we need to back ourselves up as well. Yep. So I completely see what you're saying. I'm not at all saying that it's our responsibility as citizens, but it is our right as citizens to protect ourselves. And the government, generally speaking, needs to be doing a better job.
Well, and for those people that couldn't defend themselves in the situation, especially with this attack, it was so quick. Right. Like she couldn't defend herself. Maybe other people on the train could have done something. Even
then, I mean, it would have been too soon. But government needs to be the first wall of defense when it comes to our safety.
And then after the fact, we need to make sure that the individuals that take a lax stance on these things, that they don't stay in power. We need to respond when election time comes.
100%.
So another issue I wanted to talk about was the Annunciation Catholic school shooting. There's a couple of details that are important for us to talk about that are relevant to some of the things that we're going through in our country. We're seeing across the board a mental health crisis. And it's getting to the point where it's the same thing for Irina's murder, and it goes for this as well, of people that, report hearing voices or are madly obsessed with a hatred for a certain group of people. In this case, with the Annunciation Catholic school shooting, the shooter, who will remain unnamed on our program, was making lots of different remarks painted on his products, like his magazines, his AR-15s, a bunch of different resources that he was using to actually commit the act of violence. He wrote things in broken Russian and in English that talked about how he hated children, how he hated God. He had a picture of Christ in the crosshairs of his training silhouette for shooting. It screams to me when you have a man on tape recording his plan ahead of time, and he's talking about how he's like, I don't want to do this. It's almost like, have you seen that scene in Obi-Wan Kenobi's TV series with Star Wars?
I might remember it.
So the final episode, there's a duel between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, and you see this duet of, Darth Vader's mask has been torn off halfway from one of the attacks, and he's having a conversation with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and basically he says, I know you're in there. I still see you, Anakin. I still see that my student is inside of you. I don't believe that Darth Vader is taking you completely. And you see this struggle on Darth Vader's side of times when he sounds like Anakin and he's talking to his master. But then you hear the evil come through and he says that I will kill you the same way that I killed Anakin. And that's when Obi-Wan responds and he says, then you truly are dead. Then Anakin truly is dead. I truly lost him. This video reminded me of that scene.
There's a video of the shooter of this Catholic church.
Yeah, beforehand. He's showing off all of his armaments.
He's showing it off. He's saying, look what I got, but I don't want to do this, basically.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You should send me that video when we're done here. But
yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, so what do we do about people like that? I mean, there has to be signs, that close family can see, friends can see. But I don't think anyone ever expects their son or their father or their mothers, their family, to go and do something horrific like this.
No.
So I don't know. I feel kind of stuck in regards to finding a solution, because shooting someone down in the act after they've killed somebody isn't enough. We need to prevent it. So I don't know. It is a really horrific problem that the United States is facing. You and I can sit here and talk about it, but the rest of the citizens need to figure out what we're going to do about it.
Mm-hmm. I think the only solution that has come to my mind is that we've been losing God in our country.
100%.
I think people can have whatever beliefs they want. I don't think that you have to be like, you don't have to be locked into one type of Christianity. I'm sure there's other religions as well that offer benefit to people, even though I don't personally believe in those religions. But I think that strong and concrete moral code that religion brings into our life is missing? And I keep thinking about this because that's exactly the question I've asked myself 100 times is, how do we solve this? It's not enough to just talk about it. That's kind of the whole point of this podcast is we're going to try to delve into what are the solutions. And what I keep seeing are individuals that are falling prey to false ideologies, false doctrines that are convincing them to harm themselves, to harm others. I mean, with the Annunciation School shooting, I'm pretty sure the guy shot himself. But these are people that they're struggling with so much internal torment, maybe even to the point of struggling with demons inside of them, just tempting them.
I 100% agree with you. And really, the leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have said multiple times that the same kind of thing, that this world is missing religion. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, of course I want people to be members of the Church of Jesus Christ because I believe that it's the true church. Yeah. Separate issue. I have friends that are members of other churches, and they have sometimes I feel like they have greater faith in Christ than I did. And Jesus doesn't care about one set of people; He cares about all of us. If we look for Him, we're going to find Him 100% of the time, and we really are missing that. Satan has grabbed a hold upon the hearts of everyone walking the earth today, and it's making it really hard to warm up to the idea of Jesus. So that is. I'll go as far as to say that it's the number one factor of all of this junk happening. So I totally see what you're saying.
Well, and the sad thing about it is, like, religion gets such a bad rap. There's people that they're super preachy about it, super in your face, super judgmental. Yeah. That there's no room for people to actually be sinners, when we all know everyone's a sinner. So how can we tell someone else that just committed a different crime than we have that there's no room for you?
Right. And even in events like these shootings, I mean, I hear lots of comments, and I've felt the same way of, oh, that person deserves justice. I hope they have a public execution. And we have to take a step back and say, okay, that's their sin. What's my sin? Mm-hmm. I have sin too. Yeah. And maybe you can talk about the degrees of sin. This is worse than this. Doesn't matter. No unclean thing can enter God's kingdom. So, fix yourself. With that one scripture, cast the whatever out of your own eye. Not too versed on that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you must remove the beam from your own eye before you can.
The beam. I was remembering it in Spanish.
So, but that's.
And I think lots of religions are kind of going against that. I mean, even members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, then we're certainly not perfect. But and we might talk about this here in a second, but the shooting that happened at the Church of Jesus Christ in Grand Blanc, Michigan, kind of the same reaction to the Charlie Kirk assassination. Everyone agreed, yeah, that was horrible, but they weren't Christian. Yeah. It's like, what's the point of that?
As if that devalues the lives of those that were lost.
Yeah, and then you confront somebody, does that devalue the lives? No, of course not. Okay, so why are you saying that? That's kind of dumb. You're right. These people that have raised $200,000 for the family of the shooter, they're not Christian. Yeah. Yeah, because when was the last time someone did something like that?
And we're getting to kind of the crux of the issue. We need to stop seeing people for how they look, for what they say, for what they believe. Start looking at people's actions. Yeah. Would you agree? That's a pretty good tell of how a person really is.
Yeah, I mean, we need to is merits the word for it? We need merits over anything else. By your fruits you shall know them. Mm-hmm. We need people who are willing to stand up, willing to try to be Christ-like in this world.
We need pastors and religious leaders to be very clear, very vocal on these issues. These are not political issues. Like we get lost in that. We think, well, this was a political controversy. Charlie Kirk got shot because he talked about transgenderism issues, and someone who was a lover of an individual who's trans shot him because of that. That's not what's going on here, guys. We have to realize we need to take off the blinders that prevent us from seeing what's really going on, which is that we are in a spiritual battle of good versus evil. And people all over this country, all over this world are picking sides. And so we have to be really careful about what side we're picking, be really careful and delineate, am I misstepping? Am I making an error? But then after we've made that decision of what's error and what's truth, and we've listened to the Holy Spirit teaching us every day, we need to be compassionate on other people that are still making that journey, that are still making that leap of faith. I think that's when we will really see that healing that I think every one of us is craving. And so many of us have just given up. And that hurts me every time I see that in people, where they just say, I can't do anything. How can I change something? It's all in Washington. It's all in my state legislature. They're passing laws. I don't like it, sure. But they don't listen. So what can I do? I'm here to tell you there is something you can do.
You can start a podcast. That's what you can do.
I mean, you got to do something. And don't think that something is insignificant. I mean, we're starting out. This is our first episode. That's one episode. That's insignificant.
Very much so. Yeah.
But as you continue to work, as you continue to spread truth, that simple thing, as we know by Scripture, brings about great things. So if it is, you've noticed your neighbor was going through a rough time. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Their house didn't need to burn down. Maybe you just noticed they were looking a little down that day. Take that time to go talk to them. If you think that doesn't have an impact on world politics, you're wrong. That influence might seem small, but you don't know who's going to be the next Charlie Kirk.
Right. And you don't know, and this is kind of a meme these days. You don't know who's going to be the next shooter, too. I mean, there's these memes going around. There's a scene in Billy Madison where Billy calls someone he bullied in high school and apologizes, and then this guy crosses Billy's name off of a kill list. And, it's kind of funny for the movie, but, that's a real thing, You can turn someone for good, and you can keep someone from doing something they might regret. Yeah. And it's a very cliche thing to advertise is be nice to your neighbor. And it's like, we get it. Okay, if you get it, then do it. Small things like that. I mean, that's why the government gives handouts, because the people around those people who are in need aren't helping them out.
Right.
If we all helped each other out, and this is getting close to communism, whatever. If we all helped each other out, we wouldn't have need for this big brother trying to step in and screwing it up like it does.
Well, and it would mean more because it's your neighbor giving you flour, giving you a ride to school, giving you something that you desperately need.
And then they help you out because everybody has ups and downs.
Yep.
And this is a perfect world we're talking about. We're not quite there yet, but anyone who says that we can't get there is crazy in the head. So
yeah. It's easier. It's easier to say that I can't do something. And so then you can kind of just sit back. But honestly, we're going to see more of these violent attacks. And it just keeps feeling like they're happening more and more frequently. And it's not going to stop until we make that healing move as a whole nation, each of us doing our small contribution to a bigger whole, that we're going to see this recover. So, but yeah, with this Annunciation school shooting, there were a couple kids that did end up dying.
Yeah, they were 8 and 10 years old, right?
Yeah, very sad. It was a blessing that he didn't take more lives, because there were a lot of people in this school.
All things considered, yeah.
And that leads to one of the next incidents, which we've kind of led up to. We've kind of talked about it and reference to it, which is Charlie Kirk's assassination. Where were you?
Where was I
assassinated?
When I found out. The last time that someone asked that question was for 9/11. So that kind of puts into perspective, just tragedies that are happening. Yeah. And I'm not trying to compare the two, say one's worse than the other, but where was I? I was working in Alaska at my tour guide job, and I believe I had walked into the bus yard, walked inside, went. Some of my friends were hanging in the back by operations, and I hear someone said, "Charlie Kirk just got shot." I'm thinking, Charlie Kirk, I know that guy. I used to work for him. You know, I had a Turning Point chapter in high school. That's crazy. Where did he get shot? They said the neck. And I'm thinking, okay, that's actually kind of serious. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking before that it was, you know, maybe it like grazed behind him or something. And then I saw the video. I saw the real video. And after I saw that, of course I prayed that he'd survive. But I knew that it was not looking good. And sure enough, what happened. And I was in shock. I had 2 tours that day. I was giving 2 tours. Each tour lasts about 4 hours. I had just come off the first one when I found out. We weren't sure if he was going to survive or not. I'm loading up I'm driving my bus to the dock to pick up the people, and I'm just sitting there waiting for him. I told myself, I don't want to find out what happens to him. I'm going to get distracted. I got to, you know, this is my last tour of the season. I can do this. And one of my friends gets on the bus right before I load my people and said, "Hey, Charlie Kirk just passed." And I had to compose myself because my people are waiting outside the bus. It was so hard for me. And I had another, used to be my friend. I should probably still call her my friend for Christ-like reasons, but who just said something nasty, really, really nasty. And I won't get into it because it's terrible, but really nasty about Charlie Kirk. I'm like, really? You see that I'm hurting. His wife and his daughter and his son are hurting. And you're going to say something as pathetic as that in front of me, of all people? Mm-hmm. It was really hard for me. And I was, as a kid say, I was tweaking that whole day. I was shaking. And it was hard for me, but that's my story. You can kind of see my reaction right now. I'm just reliving it. And it really sucks, man. But where were you?
I was at work. So I have a buddy that he was the first person to tell me about it. And the first thought, I've heard other people say this too. My first thought was, okay, well, it's going to be like Trump's shooting, you know?
Yeah.
He got hit. Okay, he was probably walking through a crowd. Someone shot him, but the shot kind of hit him in the stomach or something like that. You know, you can recover from that. And when I found out, when I saw his head whip back, I didn't even see my first video that I saw, it was like 200 meters away, 200 yards away. You see his head whip back, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I wonder if it hit his spine, if it did some irreparable damage. So I already knew it wasn't looking good. I mean, you get in the neck, there's not a lot there. But I didn't know he had bled out when I had seen that. So it wasn't quite for sure. I had another coworker a coworker of mine that showed me the video up close, 10 feet away. That man died in 5 minutes. I mean, I knew once I saw that video. People were questioning if it was real. For the next probably week or two, time moved like I was drudging through honey. The thing I keep coming back to is, and I don't want to sound like we're making a bigger deal about something than it is. I don't want to make it sound like people are just obsessed with Charlie Kirk. But there was something we lost that day as a nation. Both sides. This wasn't a loss on the right. This was a loss for freedom. This was a loss for our country. And so I've heard people basically just be like, well, I don't understand why people are so hurt about this. I don't understand how can you feel as though it's someone in your close family that you lost, or he's not the president. You know, there's just a bunch of different things I've heard, and I think what's ultimately come down to it in the end is we knew him before this life. I heard someone say that. It clicked. Our souls, even though we were miles apart, we knew Charlie Kirk. And our spirit understands that what was lost that day was not just a life, was not just a father, was not just a husband, although those things are very tragic elements of this. And that is all people are seeing that don't know him, they haven't seen his videos, They're just saying, well, it's tragic that that family lost their spouse and father. But what we're all seeing is we lost a warrior. We lost someone on God's army. That he's now on the other side, fighting like mad. But nonetheless, we've lost him in this life. And I think it sent out a call. It sent out a wave, and it hit me. I still, to this day, I don't know how to describe it. But it's the reason we're starting this podcast. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And so that wave, it rippled out. You want to know what that effect was? The result so when Charlie Kirk was alive, like the day that the shooting was going to happen, there were, I believe they said 1,200 college chapters and 900 high school chapters. Since then, they've had more than 100,000 requests to start new chapters. That is mind-blowing. That is exponential growth beyond understanding. And millions of people, just in other countries. There was someone that was talking about how in England, they underrepresented how many people actually showed up to those Charlie Kirk vigils. Apparently, it was upwards of 3 million people. What did he do for Europe? What did he do for Africa? What did he do for Asia? Why was Australia holding all these vigils for him? This man made ripples throughout the country, and not only that, but throughout the world, I meant. This man was a spiritual leader. And it was all because he was on a simple individual journey to make himself a servant of God, to follow in the Lord's path. And part of that call is to share it with other people, to share the light of Christ, to share the word. And he did so valiantly. The Lord called him to do that. And he said, here I am, send me. I'll go do it. And so now that he is no longer here, where else could that call go but to others? I don't think that call suddenly we don't need people to go out and share the word of God. We don't need people to go out and be missionaries. We don't need people to talk about how politics is inevitably intertwined with religion, not the other way around. You have to understand how important government is in protecting your religious freedoms. Otherwise, you can't have religion. The state becomes the religion. We see this in all communist and socialist nations of the past and current. They make the leadership the God. So that's basically what's happening right now. And I'm hoping that really resonates with people, and that they're able to really search inside their soul to find, what can I do to make a difference? And to put off this doubt that I struggle with even, of no one wants to listen to me. No one wants to hear this. I'll just stick to my little life. I'll be private, and I'll help my family, help my neighbors. I don't think we can stand by and live that way anymore. I think we have to think a little bit bigger than that.
I totally agree. And sure, we can have that mentality, and it's probably true. Certainly with us for the first few episodes, first few months of this, yeah, it'll be small and insignificant. No one's going to want to listen. I don't know about you. I don't really care. I mean, nope. I know you feel the same way. I have the, I almost feel unworthy to say this, but I have the Erica Kirk mentality of, you will not forget who Charlie Kirk was. You will not forget the revolution that he started.
Yeah.
And not a violent revolution. We're gonna talk your ears off, and we're gonna do it nicely, whatever. We'll be cool about it, but it's gonna be spoken, and you're gonna hear it. If you're not hearing it, you're covering your ears on purpose, and you're part of the problem. So it's time for people to man up. It's time for people to woman up, and take initiative.
Yeah.
It's time to lead America, and not leave it to those who just want to destroy it. That's exactly what Charlie Kirk did. And that's why he affected so many other nations on the other side of the freaking ocean. Because people saw his spirit, saw his drive. He was he is a man of God. He had very manly features. I'm not saying he had a six-pack. I mean, he respected his wife and he loved his kids and he loved God. That's what makes a man. That's what makes a real disciple of Christ. That's what makes a woman too. And that's what people need to, we need to have that mentality.
He was actually very, very big on personal hygiene and health. I don't know if you know.
Sure. I'm sure he did have a six-pack. He's probably jacked out of his mind, but.
Yeah. Well, and he towered over people. He was 6'5".
6'5", really?
Yeah. It doesn't convey that in the videos. Like when you see him, you just think, but he stands up next to someone.
6'5", that's taller than my dad, bro. And my dad's tall, dude.
It's crazy.
Dang.
But they talk about how apparently his build is, very different. It's a little abnormal. They were trying to say, and I don't know if this is true, but they were trying to say that the bullet from the surgeon who worked on him when he got to the hospital. By the way, we have relatives that literally are down the road from this hospital, the Mount Timpanogos clinic or hospital or something like that. But he said that the bullet actually was caught by his skeleton. That the bullet went in and then it hit his spine, and they found the bullet just under the surface of the skin. So apparently he was in pretty good health, if that's the case.
Bro drinks his milk is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, he's got that calcium, that's for sure.
And that's not to make light of it, but yeah, that's pretty intense. What caliber of gun was it?
It was 50, a 30-06.
30-06 is what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
And his body stopped that?
Just so you know, too. I'm sure some people in the audience understand this already. I found out, because I'm not super familiar with different calibers and what their competencies are, but that is a round that can go through a person and kill the next person.
That's what I've been hearing.
It's for like elk and large game. That's what that round is for. They used it all the time during World War I and World War II, and it was almost a guaranteed kill shot. Like it didn't even need to be hit their vitals. It would cause an explosion of air pressure inside their body that would displace organs and cause rupturing. So it was brutal. For that to hit him in the neck, some people are saying his neck should not have held together. That bad.
And so, a little tangent. I think that's where these, I'm going to call them conspiracy theories because that's what they are, and those people are silly.
Yeah. I don't subscribe to those things.
They're saying, it didn't go through his neck, so it was a different caliber and it came from a different angle. Shut up, dude. Shut up and join our podcast and we'll talk about it respectfully. So. Well,
why do you think that that's happening?
That there's conspiracy theories
why
going
are
around?
People going wild over this stuff?
Because Candace Owens is crazy. She's very smart and has taken a weird turn with it. I got to understand her a bit more before I actually start talking openly about her. But I think she's kind of been the leader in these theories. I was talking to some guys on the university campus the other day. We were talking about it. They seemed really into it. I'm like, guys, this is all conspiracy. It doesn't really matter. What matters is Charlie Kirk is dead, and now you need to grow some guts and then stand up.
Yeah, get a spine.
Yeah, get a spine.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating that all the conspiracy theories have happened, and I mean, I get it. There's been some distrust from government in general. Just it's difficult for us to trust that. Well, when they say this is conclusive, it's conclusive. We're seeing that with so many other issues, Epstein and a couple of other things, where people are just like, "You're just gonna leave it at that?" Like we want more reassurance. But I think this is pretty case closed.
I think so. I'm not that it really matters. I believe that the alleged killer is the killer. Yeah. I say just, here's my imperfect side. I say just execute him. Not public. That's disrespectful and horrific. Just execute him. It
might happen in Utah, though. In Utah,
a public execution.
They have, I believe, they still have a firing squad. So,
but would that be public though? Mm-hmm. I might look at tickets.
So the big reason why I don't want to make light of someone dying, either way.
For sure.
The reason that I think that'll be a good thing.
The public execution?
Public. Is I want people to understand, again, we're going back to what happened to Irina. When you take someone's life, honestly, a just penalty would be that person's life.
100%.
It prevents you from ever harming another person. Ultimately, when you think about it, this is actually more just as long as you're making sure that the process is humane. We don't want people to suffer. That's not the point of this. The point of it is, listen, you just took someone's life, or you took their innocence. And so now we're going to exact of you the thing you stole from someone else that was innocent. And so that's why I think it's actually just, is the fact that it sets a standard for other people to know, you do not kill. If you do, there is the ultimate punishment, the ultimate penalty, besides that which God can deliver as the consequence.
Right. And I think from a religious standpoint, I think in that case, there's room for the law of Moses and there's room for the new and everlasting covenant. I mean, Erica, fantastic woman, absolutely amazing and beautiful. She forgave him, the alleged killer, within a week.
That was powerful.
The one person as directly affected as you can get was the first one to forgive.
Yeah.
So that's Christ working in her. If that's not evidence that Christ lives, then that's crazy.
Absolutely.
But
and you saw how angry she was prior to that.
Oh, she was pissed.
So I was talking with my wife and her family, and the conclusion we came to was she's a lioness. Like when you watched her during the memoriam, before she said that, the fierceness in her eyes.
I was scared, and I'm on her side.
It's crazy. She said too. She's like, we will make this the turning point.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not an artificial thing. That is, we won't let this go to waste. We won't. I mean, that's not the right words even. We won't let this burn out. We won't let this be in vain. Because we want to make sure that justice is found. And justice, honestly, will be found when we share Christ with every possible candidate, every possible individual, and they get that opportunity to choose for themselves if they want life or death.
Yeah.
Because life is brought about by accepting Christ into your heart. You're freed. Like what Erica demonstrated, you're able to forgive. You're able to let go of pain. Instead of being a victim for the rest of your life, you become the victor because of Christ's victory. And when you realize that, the amount of freedom that brings. I mean, they've done studies on this. I don't know if you're aware of this, but religious people are happier. When they talk...
That's weird. I wonder why.
There are reasons for this. I think ultimately the human soul does need that understanding of a higher power and needs... I mean, think about how much freedom you receive as an individual. If you think that you have to survive for 80 years of your life just off of your own grit and capacity, compared to a God who is watching over you, that is your Father, that is ever compassionate. And he is always going to make sure that you are cared for. That doesn't mean life is going to be easy.
Of course not. It's going to mean the opposite, actually. Because hard things build character.
Yes.
So.
I think you're seeing that with Erica. Erica is more determined, and she is stronger post losing her husband.
She is. And it's because she accepted Christ long ago and learned about the atonement long ago. And as she's watching her husband grow in popularity, she's probably preparing herself for something like this. And was, I would guess, more or less ready to forgive and to move on. And that's what forgiveness has done for her. I mean, look at her now. She obviously is still very devastated, but she's able to focus. She's the freaking CEO of Turning Point now.
Yeah.
Within
and
a
two
week.
other companies.
2 other companies.
Yeah.
She's insane. I've told people before, and I'll say this here. I mean, if I could marry a woman half as amazing as she is, I'd not be worthy to take her hand in marriage, because she's just so awesome. The way that she's been able to move on and do all that she's done is astounding.
Yeah. So ultimately, the way that these things tie together, and there's other issues. Actually, I want to hit this real quick. So with the Michigan Grand Blanc township being hit, I remember being in church when this happened. But this is a stake center, and for those that don't know, we are both members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I think that's good for everyone to know about, so that our bias is well known.
Yep.
Everyone has bias, so we might as well just let people know.
I got plenty of bias.
Yeah. But with that being said, this absolutely wasn't an attack on Christianity.
Big time. It was specifically an attack on members of the Church of Jesus Christ. The shooter had lots of hate towards Mormons, which is the incorrect term, towards members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And like you were talking about earlier with the mental illness and this, I love how you put it, the obsessive hatred. That's where it stemmed, and it was an attack on the members of the Church of Jesus Christ. And like you said, it was an attack on all of Christianity. We, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we are Christians, and we can talk about that in the future. I'd love to talk about it.
We will go into that deeper.
And I think it's funny how people are saying we're not, especially after this. I already talked about that. $200,000 for Shooter's family that we raised. Anyways.
Now, that was local members, by the way. So imagine this. And this happened. There's a similar scenario where an Amish community was attacked and several of their children died. And what did they do? The first thing they did was they went to the mother of the shooter who killed himself. They went to the mother and they said, "You are part of our community. Don't go anywhere. Please stay here. We'll take care of you. We will love you." I cannot even express, how do you balance the sorrow and the pain that you're feeling with the loss, and at the same time you're reaching out and you're embracing someone else that most people wouldn't think. You're not thinking, "Oh, well, someone shot Charlie Kirk. I wonder how his parents are doing."
No.
But why don't we think that? Why don't we think that?
Because we follow a person who was dying on the cross and didn't think, "Oh my gosh, these nails hurt. This crown of thorns hurts. It's care after my mom."
Right.
That's who we follow. That's why we're Christian. It's part of why we're Christian. You know, you can, sure, different beliefs, whatever. We follow the same Christ, the same one that died for our sins, that was resurrected, who looked outwards always. I mean, the apostles see that he's tired, and he says, "No, let the children come to me." This person shoots up our church, and we say, "That family's probably suffering."
Yeah.
We can give our forgiveness. We can embrace them. And who knows if that's going to change the course of that family of 4, I believe it is, for the rest of eternity. I'm sure that the shooter is getting well informed up in heaven right now. And the family is going to see this outpouring of love. And that's what we're trying to nail. That's the love we need to show for people. Those are the conversations we need to have. We don't need to, and this is controversial, that's why we have the podcast, we don't need to riot in Portland after a murderer and a rapist and a drug dealer gets killed. Jordan, that doesn't fix anything. What did that accomplish?
More hate.
More movements towards hate. Frankly, that might be the butterfly wings that flapped across the other side of the world that ended up killing Charlie Kirk, for all we know. And that's not solving freaking anything.
Nope.
We have solved more in the last 2 weeks than they've solved with their pathetic Black Lives Matter movement. Black lives do matter. I'll make that clear, 100%. But the movement itself was horrifying.
It was a scam. That's what it was.
The
people who led it got rich. It's ridiculous. Well, and that's the thing. You can't, by their fruits you shall know them. And that's the fruits that we see with people giving to those who hurt them. Now, I should actually clarify that. To those who were related to people who directly hurt them. And that the ability to forgive and move on, that is a uniquely, I'm going to say uniquely Christian value, or at least largely Christian value.
100%.
And so I think we need more of that. That's the only way we're going to fix all these problems, because guess what? Both sides have screwed up. Both sides have done dumb things that have hurt the other side. You've seen so many videos online, one way or the other. Some MAGA Trump supporter being an idiot and being rude to someone who disagrees with them. And you've seen it from the other side, someone shouting down and saying, "You will conform or else I will unfriend you. I will disconnect from you." So so the building was completely burned down. Everything was pretty much just toast, which if you don't know, it was an improvised explosive device. The guy who drove his truck through the front doors of the building, he set it, and then it caught the building on fire.
So he set his truck on fire or bombed his truck?
I'm sure the truck did inadvertently get burned down. I didn't see pictures of that for sure, but
yeah, I was hearing that he had time to plant the bomb or something.
Yes.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe you know better than I do. I've been hearing mixed stories that it was the police officers that took care of him, or it was the second counselor.
I think it was both.
It was both. I believe that the second counselor was carrying that day.
Yes.
Not against church policy because he wasn't a police officer, right?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
So I think that's the reason why that story has had those two divergences, because he was active law enforcement.
Yeah.
But
and I think the church, this is coming from an imperfect man who does not receive revelation for the church, but I do think that the church should allow concealed carry, especially after this. But that's a separate topic we can talk about.
Yep.
I support the leaders 100%, whatever they decide. So.
No, I think it is important for us to be able to have that means. You talked about it earlier, of defending ourselves. Mm-hmm. It's just tough to weed out the people that are going to be irresponsible with it. So I think that's what they're grappling with. But I agree. I think that people need to, to be able to protect themselves, because we're living in a time where these things are becoming more common. Yeah. These things are becoming, you don't know when you're going to have to defend your family going to church. And I'm sad to say that.
That's a crazy thing to actually have to think about now. The last time that members of the Church of Jesus Christ had to think about that was when it was first being established.
Yep.
I mean, they got freaking driven across the entire United States to find freedom. And I don't think it's going to come to that, but it's the same persecution.
Yeah. So that's the reason that we're talking about these issues. We want to bring light to some of these things, and we're going to be continually working on this, and we're going to make sure that these episodes keep getting better, that we keep having more focus, and that we come to genuine, this is what you can do. This is what you can change in your life, and you're going to see a difference. So we'll get into some of those things. We have big plans for the future.
Do. And I think we should, I'll just tell it to you on air, that we should figure out some kind of way to get feedback from people, not hate comments, because those are pathetic and silly people write those, but, suggestion boxes. Yep. I don't know how we'll put that digitally.
Well, it'll be comment boxes comment messages on YouTube. Nice. We'll eventually do live streams as well. So the really cool thing is we can actually have people ask us questions.
Should be sick.
In the time that we're talking about the issue, we can come and hit up those questions. We'll have our curator take care of those things
and stuff.
So it'll be really good. Yeah, this is just a taste. So if this was a letdown, then just know that things will end up being better.
Yeah, we're dedicating time to it. I'm ready to drop everything and give this my attention. Yeah. So let's get after it. I think that's how I started the episode. Let's get after it. Yep. Maybe that can be our name. We'll talk.
Yep, we are deciding a name for this podcast. If you do have any suggestions, do let us know in the comments. We'll take a look at all those and come to a good conclusion.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that the camera's right there.
Yeah.
I'm so focused on our conversation. I've heard you say a few times, the audience. I'm like, who? Oh, hey, you guys, what's up?
They do exist. They are there. So, okay. Well, that concludes our first episode.
Amen.
Thanks for your time, Aiden.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's hot in here. You made to tell a joke while you're thinking?
Sure.
Okay, this is a joke that I had in between coworkers working in tourism in Alaska. Obviously, half of our income comes from tips, and we had this joke. What's the difference between a canoe and a Canadian? Canoes tip. Get it? Because they fall over, they tip. Are we going to cut this one out too? Is that a bad joke?
I don't get it.
What's the difference between a canoe and a Canadian?
A canoe tips.
A canoe tips.
Oh, okay. Okay, now I'm following.
A canoe.
I forgot your context that you said right before.
Right before a canoe gratuities. Whatever, dude. We thought it was funny, and I think it's funny, and I'll say that joke till the day I die. And my kids are gonna love it. So do it. Let that joke be known. Let the Canadians change. Dang it! I'm going back next summer.
We'll just have it right at the end as this little nugget to reward those that stay the whole time.
That made it all the way through.
And they'll either get the joke and think it's funny, or they'll be like, either way. Or you're educated on.
They'll probably see the joke and say, "I'm not watching another episode." That's okay. That's okay. I'll work on those. I'll bring one back next time. So you guys get it right because canoes. Forget about it.